Welcome to another Genekey. Thank you for exploring this with me. I've been studying the Genekeys for some time now. And there are things that I'm starting to learn. I like to always start with the city or the gift and talk about how the city is part of every moment. It's not a temporary experience, that in every moment we can connect to this state, this unique angle of light that is part of the conscious moment. They call this the city state. It's a natural state. And there are shadows that come from these lights. And these shadows take us away from our natural state. And they're temporary, they're situational. So I'm learning that these are things that I find myself kind of going over and talking about, and maybe I can apply a little more emphasis and focus on this structure and how the shadows may manifest in our life, and how we can connect to the city, and how we can for lack of better word or term, I'll chemicalize these shadows into light. But it's really just taking the courage to face our fears. You know, in this Genekey, in this 8th Genekey here, it's the city of exquisiteness, and the shadow is mediocrity. And it's interesting how mediocrity is considered a shadow. And the reason being is that the fear that manifests here is the fear of our own individuality. The fear of success, the fear of moving beyond our comfort zone. Wherever we find ourselves in a comfort zone, and to be, there's a lot of ways that we can go into that, but I guess to be more specific, we'll get into the repressive nature and reactive nature. So the repressive nature is the idea of when somebody internalizes, they deflate themselves of purpose. They have devoid of life, lack of personality, hollow purpose, lack of fire. The reactive nature is the constant need for change. They're constantly trying to run from their purpose instead of deflating it or living below it. They are always never taking the time to breathe. allowing the self to flow through. When we allow ourselves to really be present, we become familiar with ourselves. As the gift here that brings us from the shadow into the city here of exquisiteness is the gift of style. It bypasses the mind. It allows us to flow into the moment with our personality. When an aspect of ourself has reconnected to the rhythms of life, to nature, there's a trust. There's a trust in who you are. You don't have to think about. You don't have to wonder or doubt. You know. And so you can let yourself be free. You can liberate yourself. Your identity, your personality. When you free yourself and you allow yourself to just express full-heartedly of whoever you might, we feel weird because normal doesn't feel weird. Weird feels weird, and we get used to feeling that. We get used to everything that we get used to feeling reveals more of ourself, in a certain way. Who am I when I feel weird? Who am I when I feel awkward? Who am I when I feel eccentric? Who am I when I feel quirky? We each feeling that we allow our personality to play with brings life. What's the sayings? Are we alive but not living? Or are we not living, just being alive? It appears that personality is a marker of vitality. When somebody's full of life, what is a person full of life? This embracement of the moment, allowing themselves to be free, having all this personality. It's mentioned here that exquisiteness are not leaders. They're not looking to be in lead of anybody. In fact, they don't want their followers. They are in the 8th Genekey, it is the connection to your individuality. And when we settle for mediocrity, the cost is your individuality. We all have a unique light, a unique gift, a unique angle on things. And there isn't a space in this world that exists for it because we haven't made that space yet. It is up for us to make space and time for who we are in this world. We have to become familiar and play and explore and and allow room within ourselves for that to grow and develop. Breathe. Liberate. Create. These are the pathways to bring us back to the moment of the city, to the state of the city, out of these shadows of mediocrity. Each person is great, unique. But it's up to each individual to embrace that quality of himself. I think that's all I have for the 8th Genekey. Thank you for joining me on another Genekey. I do hope you are getting something from this. This is helping me brainstorm, and well, I have my reasons for why it's helping me, and I'm going to emphasize a little bit more on maybe going about the Genekeys in this way, about really getting into how the shadow manifests temporary in our life, and how the city-state is there in every moment, and maybe that can start to provide better structure to all of this, and let's see what this continues to lead into. Thank you.